I was walking down the hallway past the toilet in my father's house. I saw a man in an old-fashioned 1940s or so hat, suit and jacket that you always see in old pictures standing there apparently peeing. I saw it was real. There was way too much detail to be anything other than a real person, but when I looked back, he was gone. Wow, ghost! I freaked the fuck out for like 2 seconds. I then backtracked up the hallway about 5 feet, walked past again as exactly the same speed, head orientation and eye direction as I could from earlier, and here's the kicker. I saw it again, but this time I realized it was just a particular accumulation of light and shadow at a very specific angle, with just the right lighting conditions to give a very vague outline of a man in a hat and a jacket. My mind did the rest, filling in all the missing details just like it's designed to do. Our brains are fantastic filling in machines, because there is way too much information we absorb, and we need to filter it, then enhance it to be able to interpret it. I also have an abduction experience that was totally a case of sleep paralysis also. I thought his was just a particularly vivid and scary dream immediately afterwards. But once I heard of the usual symptoms, loud noise, paralysis, fear, it all fell into place.
I went off to college, and during my first quarter there, my best friend back home killed himself. I took it very hard, as did everyone else in my family. Now, I really didn't believe in ghosts or any of that stuff. One night I was sleeping in my dorm room and I was just awoken. It felt like someone was in the room, so I rolled over and there was my friend Alex, standing in the corner, smiling like the goofy bastard he was. I know my friend is in a good place, wherever that may be, and I miss him to this day.
I was at a friend's house when his stepfather was in the hospital. We'd just finished watching this movie about the Holocaust, and were talking about it in his living room when this blood-freezing moan of despair comes from the next room. We both just stare at each other like, what in God's name was that? And both thought perhaps his mom had just gotten news of his stepfather's death. He went to check on her, but it turned out she was sleeping in her daughter's room on the opposite end of the house. There was nobody in that side of the house at all. I don't believe in ghosts or anything. I'm pretty sure it was a dog or some other animal outside, but it was by far the most unsettling thing I've ever heard. I've also seen a few UFOs, one up close, 30 feet directly above at night, but I have no clue what they actually were. I can't say what they were, though. I wouldn't assume aliens, just unidentified.
Deck 2009. My grandma called us in the middle of the night and said that her brother had just came and visited her, knocked on her door, and when she got up and answered, he waved at her and walked away. We told her that it was just a dream and everything was okay and her brother was fine. He was of good health. The next morning we got the call. He had passed away that night around the time she called us, 11:13 p.m. if I remember correctly. Now I'm Mr. Logical, but am still unable to come up with a rational explanation. I went to her house the next day, and she told me everything, how he was at her front door, etc. The only thing I can think of is maybe it was a coincidence. Any ideas?
I was probably 7 and sharing a room with my 2 brothers when I saw something. I woke up in the middle of the night and saw a small bar of light dancing on the heater in the room. I was scared and tried to wake my brothers, but being on the top bunk and too scared to move, I was unsuccessful. Then something said my name and I nearly pissed my pants. It disappeared, and a few minutes later, my mom started screaming that there was something in her room. I don't believe in ghosts anymore, and I chalk it all up to my crazy imagination as a kid. I used to have terrible nightmares due to my imagination.
I have seen several, but they weren't scary. The first memorable one was when I went to the house of a family friend who had just moved to our town. She invited me into her kitchen for tea. We sat at a small table and were visiting. At one point she excused herself, and so I sat there alone. Then I glanced across the room to the stove and saw a man hanging by the neck. I don't know why I wasn't scared, but I was UNT. When I looked again, he was gone. When my friend returned, I said to her, I don't know if this is going to mean anything to you, but I just saw a man hanging by his neck over there, and I motioned toward the stove. She went white and said, there is no way you know this because we didn't even tell anyone. But the reason we moved here is because our roommate hung himself in our basement 2 months ago. That's when I got goosebumps.